Hey everybody, it's Ruby here today, and I thought that I would do my June wrap-up video as well as my July to be read. I read quite a few books this month, but a lot of them were original readers' copies from NetGalley, and so I thought that I would finish those up before sort of starting my own physical copies of books, because I had requested a lot of them, not realizing just how much time it took up. So let's get started. So I've done a couple of book reviews and video reviews and things like that for a lot of the books that I have read this month, so I will link everything down below, so if you think that you're interested in something, chances are I have elaborated on it. So the first one is a book that I reread, and that is The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. His movie recently came out on June the 6th, and I did a movie review for that as well, and it's basically a young adult romance novel about two 16-year-olds that fall in love. They're both cancer patients or have been cancer patients, and it is kind of an existential look on what it means to be sick, as well as a general romance for a teenager. Next up is As I Can Hear You Whisper by Lydia Denworth. This book is a popular science book about language and hearing. The author had discovered that her young son had developed hard of hearing, and as a result she had to look up sort of the scientific basis behind cochlear implants, and also discovered the deaf community. And so she talks about the sociological impact of being deaf, as well as the different languages that they learn, and also the neurological impact on hearing in the brain. I don't have any sort of cover on that, so just kind of imagine that I'm showing you these books. This was, of course, an ARC, so I don't have any sort of thing for you to look at. Then I read Castle and Cathedral by David Macaulay, and there you are. And this is an illustrator that talks about how these buildings are built, as well as great illustrations on the process of it. And these were particularly interesting because I had visited both these kinds of buildings while in England, and this gave a brief history and explanation of why they are the way they are and the purpose of them. Because especially with a castle, it was sort of the main part of a town, and so that was definitely interesting to learn. Next up was Revision's Alice, and this was by 4 different authors. It was an anthology, and it was a reimagining of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So it both had that original story by Lewis Carroll, as well as 4 other short stories by other people, and their sort of reimagining of that. So there's both a magical realism story featuring more of the magical surrealist elements of the story, while another story may have had the names of the characters, but maybe not necessarily the feeling of the stories. And that was definitely interesting because it was just general outlooks by different authors. Then I have the Bookmans Tale by Charlie Lovett. This I did a video on because I absolutely loved it. It is a book about a bookseller whose wife has recently died, and so he moves to England and he's struggling with that, and while he's trying to get back into the game of his book-selling world, he discovers a watercolor that looks very much like his wife, but the watercolor is from the Victorian age. And as he investigates it, he also discovers a document that could or couldn't have to do with the Shakespeare's conspiracy of authorship. And so it is a very nerdy and interesting and character-rich book, and I would definitely recommend it if you particularly like old books, if you like Victorian watercolors, or if you have some sort of social anxiety or like to know what it feels like to have social anxiety. Then I have The Neurological Patient in History, edited by L. Stephen Jasina and Stephen T. Jasper. And this one has a very interesting cover. This is an ARC as well, which I did a review on my blog. And this is an actual like textbook heavy sociological and historical analysis on how we've treated, how we've seen, and how we've developed the idea of the neurological patient. So that is someone who has epilepsy or Tourette's or all those sorts of disorders, and how we've sort of categorized them. And it is definitely a book that I walked away with more information, but it was a book that also I had to struggle through quite a bit because I kept catching myself trying to analyze what they were saying and then remembering that I'm in the summer and then I'm not actually going to get marked on how much I understood this book. So it is definitely something to read if you do research on it, but not an easy or summer read, definitely. In my June TBR video, I had also done my TBR jar, and I had pulled out 2 names for that, and I have been reading from one of them. So I'll have that done in the next few days. And that is Margaret Atwood's Cat's Eye, and I have been loving it so far. It's my first Margaret Atwood book, actually, and so far so good, and I can't believe I haven't read her before, but I will talk more about her either in a separate video, or I will definitely include this book in my next month's wrap-up. That starts my to be read portion of this video. So I will continue to read and finish Cat's Eye by Margaret Atwood. Then I will also be reading The Science of Harry Potter, which I pulled out of my TBR jar last month. It is a fairly short book, so I think I'll be okay to finish that. And then I'm also going to read Ship of Theseus by Dorst and Abrams. This is a book that I did an unboxing on and I was really excited to get. I bought it off of Amazon as soon as I understood what it was, and I read the first 10 pages within getting it in the mail, but I haven't actually finished it because it is not a book that I can really bring abroad or, you know, bring on the bus or that sort of thing. So this is going to be a special project of mine to finish by the end of the month. I'm not going to pull any other books out of the TBR jar or anything like that, just because I think I need to focus on these 3 books and see where I'm at the end of the month. So that is everything for you guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. I read quite a number of books this last month, more than I thought that I did, but I guess on an electronic device you don't really see how many pages you've finished. So tell me down below if there's any books that you're interested in that I have mentioned so far, or if there are any books that you're excited to read in the next month. Also, happy Canada Day for any of those Canadians. So, as always, like this video, subscribe to my channel, comment down below, do your thing, and I will talk to you guys later.